Hi everybody, this is lesson 11A, which means it's the second half of the week, and we're going to do a little singing. I thought I would focus on a particular song today, and I have two reasons for doing that. One is because if you don't know this song, it's time you did, although I think you probably do. And secondly, because we can apply this song to all of the theory lessons we've been learning about how to read music and how music is constructed and how it's notated. So it's going to be partly a theory lesson and partly a music lesson, so that's good, huh? The song is called Waily Waily. That is its original name, and now we know it most often as The Water is Wide. Some of you, particularly from the Tiverton Chorus, might know it as The Gift of Love. It's possible the Chorus of East Providence has sung that as well, although I can't remember. But these are all titles for the same tune. It's an old tune. It dates back to the 1600s. English-Scottish origin. Here's the tune. Familiar, right? I hope so. I've given you a sheet that looks like this on your email, and it is the tune written out for you to see, and then there are some quiz questions. Please don't take that word seriously. Nobody will be looking at your quiz. Nobody will be grading your quiz. You will survive if you get all the answers wrong. Nobody will know. This is just for an opportunity for you to put together some of the concepts that we have talked about and see if it makes sense to you. Hopefully this is getting easier, this whole process of reading and writing and understanding the notation of music. So I'm going to start out by just talking about the history of the song a little bit. It is, as I said, Scots-Irish, and Scots-English, and goes back to the 15th century. The origin of folk songs is a fascinating subject that would take you down a rabbit hole of research that you'd never come out of, and that includes me. So I don't go too far, but I know that there are things called child ballads, which is a collection of old English and Scottish and Irish folk music, tunes and lyrics, sometimes separate, sometimes together, and that is a fascinating area of music history, very old music history. And lyrics and tunes come from different places and are put together kind of arbitrarily by folk singers over the centuries, so that we don't really know whether the words that we are going to be talking about today and the tune that we're talking about today were originally meant to be together. The words could have come from one source and the tune from another source. But they fit and they match, and in modern times, in the 20th and 21st century, we've learned a lot of our music from modern folk performers like Pete Seeger, who brought this one back to the public consciousness, although it has been sung and performed and sung around campfires and in homes since the 1600s in one form or another. And it tells a very common story. It tells it in all kinds of languages and all kinds of versions, but it's a boy meets girl, girl meets boy, boy and girl fall in love, boy and girl decide to get married, and they get married with every hope that they will be happy forever, and they're not, because one of them turns out to be untrue and leaves the other one heartbroken. I don't know how many times you've heard that story, but it comes up in culture all the time. It must happen a lot. I will tell you a short story. I was asked years ago, when I was the music director of my church, to be a soloist at a wedding that was going to be held at the church. These were people that I knew but not very well. The parents of the bride asked me to do it. I said yes. I said I'd need to speak to the bride so we can decide what I'm going to sing, and when she called me, she said, my fiance and I would like you to sing The Water is Wide. And I said, well, that is a beautiful song, but you just want me to sing the first verse. And she said, no, we want you to sing the whole song. And I said, you really just want me to sing the first verse, because after the first verse, things go badly for the couple and they split up and one of them gets her heart broken. And she said, I know. She said, I know what the history of the song is. I know what the song means. I know what all the verses say, and I want you to sing the whole song. And I argued with her for quite a while over the phone. I was just horrified that she would want all the words at her wedding, and she insisted. And finally, of course, I had to give in, so I sang all the verses at the wedding, and within a year, that couple was divorced. And I've held myself responsible ever since. I'm sure it's my fault. But I wasn't able to talk her out of the song, so the marriage was doomed from the beginning. I feel terrible about it. Anyway, there are a number of different versions of this lyric, and I've given you a couple for you to read, and one of them is in Scottish, a Scottish dialect, which is probably where the tune, or at least the poem, originated. And then I've given you a long version in English, which is understandable and mostly familiar to those of us who sing the song in modern times. But there's a couple of verses tacked on to the end of this one that were unfamiliar to me, and so I find them interesting, and I have included them for you. Now back to the theory of the piece. You have this this tune written out without any text written under it, and I want you to use this. Is only it's only 16 measures of music, and I want you to use it to remind yourself of all the different things that we have studied. For instance, the key signature, which is written right there at the beginning. It's a sharp sitting on the F line. What does that mean? Then there's a time signature, 4/4. What does that mean? Then there is a mark at the beginning of the first measure that isn't a note. What is it? And what does it mean? In the second measure, there is a whole note, and there's a curved line between it and the note into the next measure. What does that mean? We call it a tie. That's a hint. And you'll notice that that pattern of ties, whole notes tied to the quarter note at the beginning of the next measure, is a recurring motif in this song. It goes on through the entire melody. And so you sort of ask yourself about the composer's intent rhythmically, and why does that satisfy us to have that repeating rhythm? What is the sort of psychological satisfaction that comes with that? The counts, how many beats are there in a measure? How do you know? And once you determine the answer to that question, which note in the measure comes on which beat? Which note is 1, which note is 2, and so forth. And if you have more than 4 notes in a measure, what does that mean? Are they written? Maybe there's some eighth notes in there. That's a hint. And if that's true, how do you notate that? And the hint is the word and. To and. That's a hint. Then what are the names of the notes? What key are we in? Not that that changes the names of the notes, but the very first note is the space under the staff. What is that note? And can you write or name all the notes? That's important. And then the use of the scale in the tune. Composers use scales all the time. Da 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 da. They use scales or parts of scales within a tune. We find them easy to sing and easy to remember. Where in this tune is a scale used? And we call that stepwise motion. When we move from one step to the next step in the scale, and then the next step after that, and the next step after that. That's all called stepwise motion. But when we skip a note in the scale, then we have an interval that is not stepwise, it is a skip. So you need to identify where those skips are, and then you need to identify what those skips are. Are they seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, or octaves? And you need to find them and name them and think about what they sound like. If the key is a particular letter, which it is because you've determined what key we're in, and you call that key, that note, 1, then what are the note names? What are the number names of each of the notes in the song? If X is 1, then the next step after X is 2, and the next step after X is 3. Can you write those over the notes? Can you write the numbers? And then if you're really feeling ambitious and clever and brave. Instead of writing the numbers, write the syllables. Is it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or do? I've given you all those questions on the sheet, and I challenge you to do all of them and see if you can figure this tune out, remembering that you actually know this song. So you're not really sight reading. That's not really sight reading, but analyzing it from all of this, from all those different points of view, will really help you sight read unfamiliar tunes. Okay? Now I do want to sing the song, and I want you to sing it with me. There are many, many verses. I'm going to use that that English verse, which is several stanzas long, and I'm going to sing it in this key which it's written in. And I am going to play the piano for maybe one verse or two, and then I'm going to stop and just sing a cappella. But please sing with me. Concentrate not only on how beautiful this is, but how sad it is. One thing I discovered today that I have never known was that it's written from the standpoint of a woman. The woman is the one who was sad in love, and I just always assumed it was written from the standpoint of a man. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why, but I was so surprised that it was written from a woman. I'd be interested to know if any of you had the same reaction. Anyway, the water is wide. Please sing with me. The water is wide, I cannot get o'er, neither have I wings to fly. Give me a boat that can carry two, and both shall row, my love and I. A ship there is, and she sails the sea. She's loaded deep as deep can be, but not so deep as the love I'm in. I know not if I sink or swim. I leaned my back up against an oak, thinking it was a trusty tree, but first it bent and then it broke. So did my love prove false to me. I reached my finger into some soft bush, thinking the fairest flower to find. I pricked my finger to the bone and left the fairest flower behind. Oh, love, be handsome, and love, be kind, gay as a jewel when first it is new. But love grows old and waxes cold and fades away like the morning dew. Must I go bound while you go free? Must I love a man who doesn't love me? Must I be born with so little heart as to love a man who'll break my heart? When cockle shells turn silver bells, then will my love come back to me. When roses bloom in winter's gloom, then will my return to me. I hope your love story is happier than that one. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I hope you can find some way to stay cool. Bye, everybody. See you next week.